Our topic is the death penalty, and our group is made up of Brianna Martinez, Daniela Banuelos, Ocean Ellis, Brianna Banks, Maddie Delgado, and myself, Allison Navarrete. Over the next 20 slides, I shall explain to you the pros and cons of the death penalty. First recorded execution was in the new colonies formed when the British came over to the Americas. Captain George Kendall in 1608 was executed by a firing squad for espionage. Thus began America's long history of the death penalty. Since 1976, there have been 1,408 executions, 1,233 by lethal injection, 158 by electrocution, 11 by gas chamber, 3 by hanging, and 3 by firing squad. There are only 32 states that have the death penalty, in which there are 3,019 death row inmates. As of October 1st, 2015, there were only 57 women on death row. That makes up less than 2% of the population on death row. Since 1976, only 15 women have been executed. The first laws regarding the death penalty date as far back as 18th century BC in the call of King Hammurabi of Babylon. The death penalty was the ruling of 25 different crimes. It was also part of the 14th century BC's Hittite Code, which made death the only punishment for all crimes. Lethal injection. It's a series of 3 substances that are administered through an IV, which then kills the inmate. The first is an anesthetic intended to put the inmate to sleep. The second paralyzes their entire muscular system, which stops their breathing. Finally, potassium chloride is used to stop the inmate's heart. The electric chair. It was first used in 1924 in the Philippines. The modern-day electric chair has a current of 2,000 volts. The prisoner would be strapped down to a wooden chair with an electric conduit strapped to their head and left ankle. They will then receive 2 jolts lasting anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute each. Gas chamber. It was first used in the U.S. in 1924. Prisoners are strapped to a chair in a sealed room. A mixture of hydrogen cyanide and carbon dioxide are then released into the room. This is one of the most grisly methods of execution due to the fact that it can take upwards of 5 minutes to kill the inmate. Hanging. The last execution by hanging was in 1996. The prisoner is secured above a trapdoor with a noose around his or her neck. The trapdoor is then released, dropping the prisoner. The tension caused by the rope snaps the prisoner's neck. Unfortunately, in some cases, the rope may be too short and cause the prisoner to die slowly from strangulation. Firing squad. The prisoner is tied to a post and 5 marksmen line up approximately 20 feet away. Armed with sniper rifles, they take aim at center mass of the prisoner and proceed to fire. To provide the marksman with some sort of comfort, one of the guns is loaded with a blank, so it is unsure as to who killed the prisoner. As said by Justice William Brennan, it is tempting to pretend that minorities on death row share a fate in no way connected to our own, that our treatment of them sounds no echoes beyond the chambers in which they die. Such an illusion is ultimately corrosive, for the reverberations of injustice are not so easily confirmed. A comprehensive study of the death penalty in North Carolina found that the odds of receiving a death sentence rose by 3.5 times among those defendants whose victims were white, versus those whose victims were of color, such as African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians. There is a disproportionate share of the death row population compared to the state population. 42% of the population on death row is black, while the overall population of black people in the U.S. is 13.6%. In Oklahoma and Missouri, black Americans are overrepresented on death row by nearly a factor of 4. Roughly 40% of death row inmates are African American, even though only 15% of crimes punishable by death are committed by African Americans. Meanwhile, 76% of crimes are committed by whites, and they make up about 50% of the population on death row. Even though blacks and whites are murder victims in nearly equal numbers of crimes, 80% of people executed since the death penalty was reinstated involving white victims. More than 20% of black defendants who have been executed were convicted by all white juries. The moral question surrounding the death penalty is whether those convicted of a violent crime should deserve to die. If the criminal justice system treats the rich and guilty better than the poor and innocent, then the system is corrupt. We cannot justify the killings. The death penalty is unfair amongst the classes. The rich get away scot-free while the poor are given unfair verdicts due to the lack of quality representation. This results in innocent people being sent to prison because their cases were not taken as seriously. Statistics show that roughly 1 out of 25 people on death row are innocent. Since 1973, over 140 people have been released from death row with evidence proving their innocence. Is the death penalty really worth it if potentially innocent people are being killed? If 1 out of 25 people on death row are innocent, and 1,408 people have been put to death since 1977, then we have killed approximately 56 innocent human beings. Would the death of one innocent person be worth the death of 147 guilty people? Now what about 100 innocent people? At what point does the worth outweigh the cost? The death penalty is hypocritical. If killing a person is wrong, then why are we sentencing murderers to death? Why should the punishment be the same as the crime? Mahatma Gandhi once said, "An eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind."